Welcome to the video, and today we're going to be looking at these two devices, the iPhone 16e and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And to start the video off, we're just going to jump into it. Here is the size difference between these two. So it's quite a significant difference between these phones. And even if you're not an Apple person, you can definitely tell this phone is more premium than this one. Part of it has to do with the color, and then part of it is just the size and the amount of cameras on the back. But this is a very smooth and classy look. I absolutely love the 16e. I've had this phone for a little while, and I think this is a very, very underrated device. Watch my video on this device. I would 100% buy this over the iPhone Air. I think most people that bought the Air over this is just for hype reasons. And they don't even realize it. And going back to these two devices, I think these are both excellent premium feeling devices in the hand. Obviously this one's heavier, and these are built for different types of people and situations for sure. I would honestly say this is the phone that you should buy and has everything you need, and this is the phone that you want and don't really use anywhere close to its full potential. So that should be the title of this video. Looking at these two phones, it's kind of like, what direction are you headed in? So this has a 6.1 inch display. No, it's not a 120 hertz panel. And you do notice that. You do notice that. I'm not going to lie to you and say you won't. But it's not really a deal breaker. And if you're not jostling back or jumping back and forth between phones, I don't think it's going to be a big deal for you. And I will say this, like if you're looking for a work phone, or if you're somebody who's not really doing all that much, this would be a great device. I will say this one's probably more for the power, heavier user or the doom scroller, even though you can doom scroll on both of these. This was probably gonna be better like if you use your phone for dual purposes, like let's just say you're a car salesman, work, taking pictures. Yeah, you probably wanna go for this. But these both have, I will say great battery life, great panels, great builds. They're both premium. No one's gonna say, hey, you got a cheap phone, or it looks like you're rocking a government phone. Not that you should care that much about what people think, but it is a thing in today's society. We have to be honest about that. So again, they both have good battery life, and that's one thing I love. I think in the past, when you had the iPhone SE or a Mini, you definitely suffered a lot with battery life. So I got in the weeds a little bit in this part of the video, and I just wanted to say, first of all, I apologize for the fan noise. I thought my desktop was off. It was blowing loudly in the background, so forgive that. And then secondly, both of these phones have excellent battery life, so you will end the day with a good charge and you won't have to like top off as much throughout the day, which I love about both of these phones. So if that's a concern, it's a wash in this case. When it comes to traveling, like this one's easier to stow away. This one's easier to pull out of your pocket, yet it's big enough that, you can watch content and not feel like it's not working out well on your device. Like the iPhone SE and the Mini, like time has kind of passed them by to where apps and content is not made for a screen that small. You really need at least 6 inches. If you're navigating something, having this bigger screen is gonna be a plus for this one. If you're traveling with children, I will say there's a plus on this one because this is more like a tablet. So if you're using it for work or looking at emails, or documents, it's easier to see on this phone. Or if you're handing your phone to kids and you need them to kind of immerse themselves in content, this one's gonna be a little bit better of a pacifier than this phone. The Dynamic Island, I mean, say what you want about Dynamic Island and that it's gimmicky. When I travel, I'm usually dog tired, and being able to see my boarding time and the countdown and the seat that I'm supposed to sit in is a game changer for me, and I absolutely love that. I don't travel a ton, but I always forget what seat I'm in. Even when you're navigating in a car and maybe you're not using CarPlay or Android Auto, if you have your phone on a stand or in your hand, you're the navigator in the passenger seat, it's easier to click, between the music and the navigation from the Dynamic Island. So if you know, you know. I will say the features on this phone, like the screens are both beautiful. They're both bright. I don't really have issues with either one. The cameras are great on both devices. However, I would say if in your lifestyle you are like a realtor or you're in property management or something like that, or an inspector where you have to take pictures, This is going to be a better device because when you get in the tight spaces, you cannot zoom out on this and do the ultra wide. And then in lower lighting, these Pro Maxes are just gonna be a better option than a single cam. I mean, Apple absolutely crushes it and does the best with this camera. And I'm elated that it's a 48 megapixel camera. I love that. You get those 24 megapixel stills, a little bit more detail and information when you're cropping. So I do love that, but this one's gonna win in the camera department for sure. It's really no contest. I mean, the selfie camera is way better. I mean, this one has the same selfie camera as a 14 Pro Max, 15 Pro Max, 16 Pro Max, going back to, I believe, the 13 Pro Max. This one's noticeably better. The only thing I will say is that, you know, it can zoom out and get a wider shot or get more people in the shot. And that is a plus because a lot of times selfie cameras can make or break you on social media, and a lot of people make money off of this thing, so I'm not discounting that. But one thing I will say is if you're not making money off your selfie camera and you're adding a bunch of filters and it's just you taking photos, you'll be able to pass with this. So are you concerned about scrolling and spending a ton of money on an expensive device? I would go with this one. Like, if your life is simple, you'll take a couple pictures of the pets, especially if you're tossing filters on things. Like, this is a great life tool here. It has great battery life, great camera, great display, great speakers. I forgot to mention that. These both have very great speakers. This is louder, but I feel like the fidelity on these is probably a wash. Like, I'm not like an audiophile or anything like that, but like this phone has way better speakers than it should have for a phone its size. I mean, it's considered small this day and age, but really good clarity. The mics on this thing are very, very nice. Call quality is good, keeps good signal. So, but for a phone, I mean, I give this a 9 out of 10. What Apple did with this is great. It's just with the cameras, I really like the ability to be able to zoom out, and just the selfie camera update is overdue, but the selfie cameras have never been bad on these phones. You know, I would say if you're a power user or somebody likes to doom scroll and you like to have all the options, I would go with this phone. Like, it is going to cost you a lot more. This one, I think is $599 out of the gate. They may have lowered the price on it, so even if you can get it for $500, this one is north of $1,000. So I think you really have to take a healthy look at what you need, and it's kind of finding that balance. You really have to reason with yourself. So I think the Pro may be a good compromise for somebody who's teetering. But if you're like me, save your money and probably get this one, or like the 16 Pro Max or 15 Pro Max, just because if you want the big screen and you're used to having that muscle memory for that footprint, you're not going to be satisfied with this, even though it's everything you need. I guess that's all I have to say about this. I just wanted to do a quick comparison. Like, I miss the dynamic island using this, but I don't miss like this action button here. Everybody uses this button here for the ringer. I don't know why they even switched it up. That's dumb. Both of these need to be in cases. Like, they both feel premium. This one has harder edges. Honestly, this one's easier to hold than this one. The rounded edges are cool, but I feel like the coating on this, especially on the back, is more slippery. Both have very faint Apple logos. I wish they stood out a little bit more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when you start nitpicking the faintness of the Apple logo on the phones, it's time to wrap things up. So I want to say thank you all for watching, and I'll make one other comment about the 17 Pro Max, and that is about the camera button. I only use it because it's there. To me, it's kind of gimmicky, something they just added on so that you'll have another reason to upgrade or buy a new phone. So just keep that in mind. Comment below what your experiences have been with upgrading. Are you considering upgrading? Have you just got a new phone? That sort of thing. It's always an interesting life choice because you deal with your phones on the daily. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Last thing, both of these phones need to go in cases. Think Apple Watch, regular Apple Watch with aluminum sides and the INX glass. Both of these need cases and screen protectors. This aluminum is not as sturdy as stainless steel, not even the titanium, but I mean, my favorite iPhone design is the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I love the stainless steel rails on that phone. And I think when you're spending hundreds of dollars, even though this phone is significantly cheaper, when you're spending hundreds of dollars on a device and you depend on it as much as we do, smartphones today, you got to have them in a case.